we worry and think we have to look at targets. Of course, sometimes people say that if we are faced with such uncertainty, we should wait to find out what the situation is and then take action. Now, of course, some people say, so have a slightly less stringent policy in the next few decades, and if when we learn, then we can make it more stringent. But we've done some research on this, but more needs to be done to see exactly how flexibility would operate. I think that flexibility does seem to suggest that you don't, the fact that you're going to learn doesn't suggest that you should do less now. It doesn't seem to have a big effect on the actions you need to take now. But this needs some further analysis. There's also a new area which is quite interesting, which is called options theory, where we're trying to see how we can buy options or trade options for future action in the present when we're uncertain about how policy will evolve on the basis of new information. So what are the implications for research? We need to reduce the uncertainty of impacts. We need to develop guidelines for policy under uncertainty, perhaps developing the idea of buying options for the future. And we need to select policy targets in a way that respects the precautionary principle, but that is sensitive to the costs on current generations. Let me say a few words before concluding on the rich and poor countries. What we find, this is a conflicting interest because the rich countries will probably have to make bigger sacrifices to meet the climate objectives. That is because at the moment they are still the bigger emitters of greenhouse gases. But by and large, the poor countries are more negatively affected by any future climate change. And poor countries will have to make some of the sacrifices as well if we are to meet the targets. There is no way we can achieve this target unless countries like China also reduce their emissions. But finally, the responsibility for the current situation is the result of greenhouse gas emissions over the last 200 years, for which the richer countries are mostly responsible. So these are the circumstances under which decisions have to be made. See, the point that developing countries make is that they are still, in per capita terms, much smaller emitters than the countries like the United States, Russia. We're much better than those, but we are still relatively big emitters. But you can see by the size of the box that we are not going to make such a big difference as these countries, which are also fast growing in terms of their emissions. The other point about the respect to development adaptation, which we have to research and understand, is that development and being a little bit richer actually increases resilience. So if we worry about sea level rise, for example, the Basque country will be able to cope with it. It will develop defenses, it will develop a strategy for moving people if necessary, but it will have the resources to do it. Poorer countries in the world will not have those resources and will suffer more as a result. So a key part of the strategy for addressing climate change is also to promote development. But this means that we have to increase developing country budgets and we have to increase aid to those countries. But again, to now design our aid so that it is more climate sensitive and it tries to work to be more climate friendly. I know the World Bank is working on this as a major area of research, but it's still a lot to be done. So how can the areas of research here are, how can we combine the need for equity for poor countries so that poor countries should bear less burden with the need for efficiency? But the cuts should be made where they are the least costly. So perhaps we have to work with some idea that we can't have a system of equal per capita rights now because it would be too costly on us, too burdensome on the richer countries, but it is at least a way to move in the right direction over a period of time. So one idea might be that between 2008 and 2050, the present allocations, per capita allocations of rich countries are higher than those of poor countries, but eventually we should move to equal, much lower allocations of rights. Again, how we can design and get this and negotiate an agreement on this is still an area open to further study. I won't say much about the other areas of research and negotiation, but I can inform you that there are some very complex theorists working on using game theory to understand the nature of cooperative and non-cooperative agreements in this context. So finally, what can we say, what advice can we give? I think we can say that an increase in knowledge is very important, and we need the support of the government and the bodies like the ICABASC for this. But the need for more knowledge is not an excuse for a lack of action. The action can and should be flexible. International agreements with cuts by all parties are essential, and efficiency and equity objectives can be achieved by using innovative instruments, including some market-based ones. Our own proposed research center, with which I just want to end, the aim here is to address many of these problems at a fundamental level, but also in a way that is useful to policymakers. So our programs will cover areas such as climate models and their impacts in the Basque Country, Spain, and in the Mediterranean and Southern European region, integrated climate modeling, which is climate models integrated with economic models, better understanding of the economic and social implications of climate change, understanding and study of the vulnerability of people to climate change and impacts are associated with it, perhaps some experimental research which will look at impacts and responses, and then, of course, dissemination and policy advice based on all of these. I think this is an exciting and wonderful opportunity to contribute to an important problem, which will be the contribution of the Basque Country to a global issue, and I very much thank the organizers for inviting me to speak on it. Thank you.